Hey, welcome back, my friends, for another 24. So, how's everyone doing? So, I'm going to try and go back to everything that I was doing before all this event happened, before these people decided to enter my life and throw a little chaos into it. So, today I want to tell you about my story. My name is Jonathan Savantanis, and I was born in Thunder Bay, Ontario. It's a rural town, not so much rural, I guess. About 120,000 people in northern Ontario. My father was an immigrant from Greece. He came here with his six sisters after his father died. His mother knew they did not have much opportunity in Greece, so they came here to make a new life. My father was a great man. He always had me in hockey. I used to love to play hockey. I was terrible at it, but he wouldn't. He didn't care. He made sure I got on the ice and had ice time and played, and I really loved him for that. And yeah, there was a lot of good times, a lot of fishing trips, a lot of good times between up to about 9 years old. And at nine, that's kind of really where my whole life kind of just went south, I guess you would say. My dad decided that as a family adventure, we were all going to Wonderland. Wonderland is just outside Toronto, Ontario. So from Thunder Bay to Toronto, it's approximately a 20-hour drive, give or take. And anyway, as we were going, we were only a couple hours down the road and just stopped in Nipigon, and we were just passing Nipigon, probably approximately 15 kilometers past it. And I was in the middle, so they had bucket seats, so I was in the middle, and my sister was on the right, and my other sister was on the left. So they were at the doors. We had a little dog, Peppy, that was in the back at the windshield there. And my mom was in the passenger seat, my dad was in the driver's seat. And I remember the last words my father ever said was, "Oh my God, duck!" And for some reason, normally I'd be like, you know, but instantly I just ducked. I just knew from my tone that my dad said that this was no joke, duck. And I did, and I can remember hearing the smash of the windshield and this whoosh. I mean, it just felt like a wind tunnel. Like I can't even explain to you. And the car hit the side of the road. There was those big poles with the metal girding, and we probably took about four of those out. We were going highway speeds when all this happened, and so the car came to a stop. We all got out. I'm looking around, and I noticed my two sisters, my mom, the dog. Where's my dad? So I ran back to the car, and I see my dad, and he didn't make it. The rock, it was on the passenger side. He had one thought, and that was to save his family, and he turned the car. He didn't even have time to duck himself. Basically was decapitated. And I can remember everything changed. My grandmother was on my mom's side, was very upset because just before my dad died, they had made a loan through her, and so there was a lot of bad blood in the family. My dad's side of the family decided to all go back to Greece, so I really felt alone. Like, what the heck? Why? What the heck? I just didn't understand it. No more hockey. I just went into a depression and ballooned up to about 300 pounds by the time I was 14 years old. I decided that, I was going to get into drugs and drinking and everything. Basically didn't go to school. I just didn't see the point of life. I kept saying to myself, what's the point of putting all this work in to get all this weight and then just to die like that? I thought, why bother? What's the word? It's not worth it. Just coast through life, and whatever, how you're gonna die anyway, just coast through it. That was my attitude, and it was stupid. But when you don't have counseling, you don't have anything. So anyway, I ended up going into. I ended up getting into trouble. I couldn't stay at home no more. I went to a foster home, I ended up trying to steal a purse, getting caught, trying to steal a car, getting caught, and ended up doing 18 months open custody, 30 days secure custody as a juvenile. So they sent me to somewhere in southern Ontario. Forget the name now, but and then they sent me to Kenora, Ontario, to Homestay Coast to do the 18 months open custody. And when I was there, I fought. Oh my God, did I fight? I did not want to be there. I hated it. I hated it so much. I just wanted to be out there. But I had this counselor there named Lori Willis. God love her. She said to me over the times that I was doing this, she was like, there's two ways of doing things. You can fight the system like you're doing on your terms, or you can fight the system on their terms. I couldn't really understand it, and then I did understand it. Suddenly, I turned it all around. I was going to high school, regular high school, living in open custody. I had a job at Luby's store in open custody. I reached the highest level Homestay Coast ever had. I was able to go for passes by myself. Life was great. I mean, Kenora, Ontario was a perfect place to grow up. For that summer, it was only for a short year. I think of it as my childhood, but it really was not all my childhood. But it was an amazing summer. Met some amazing people. Some are no longer with us. It's sad, but you know, it was a place that really opened up my eyes. And I also met other people that I met 30 years later that still mean something to me today. So after that, I went back home, and that was the biggest mistake because as soon as I went back home, all the structure was gone. I was back quickly to my old self, back to the drugs, back to the alcohol, and it just escalated. After that accident, we did sue the logging company, and I did receive a small lump sum payment when I turned 18. And yeah, I just blew it, you know. I just blew it all on drugs, and basically had a little bit of money left, and I was like, what the heck am I going to do? And I had a motorcycle, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to go to BC. So I jumped on my bike with no insurance, had about $1,000 or a little more, and off I went. Made it all the way to Moosonin, Saskatchewan, and I was like, "Oh, just come on, push a little farther. Saskatchewan is just up the road." So I'm coming down the highway, and I didn't realize, but in Saskatchewan, they're actually allowed to turn off through the center of the highways, just as a courtesy, so that people don't, have to stop for them. Anyway, I didn't realize what he was doing, and I hit him at 140 kilometers at a stop. And I was in Moosonin, Saskatchewan, and at the time, it was the tiniest town, probably population 800. Two people died on me while I was in the room getting fixed up. Oh, it was terrible. It was so sad. And anyway, my mom ended up coming down to pick me up, and because I had a broken ankle, broken wrist, broken ribs. I mean, I was in very bad shape. And that's where I first tried opiates. I remember the doctor coming in and giving me a shot, and oh my God, the warmth, the feeling of complete and utter perfectness of almost being back in, like some people say, in your mother's womb. And I remember asking him, I said, doctor, what is that? And he said, Demerol. I was like, oh, I never tried that. And a couple hours later, I was puking my guts out. So anyway, that was my first experience with it. I really liked it. So my mom came out, picked me up, and I went back to Chilliwack. And in Chilliwack, I quickly lost control. I mean, drugs were everywhere, and I found a special drug, a very special drug, heroin. And that not only gave me that feeling of Demerol, but times 10. So during that time, I just continued like growing and becoming more and more addicted. I was working. I was working at the Pantry Restaurant in Surrey, BC, and I'd go and I was able to maintain being using and working for a long time, years actually, and then slowly but surely everything started coming apart, and I remember going to Vancouver. I lost everything, and I was like, "What do I do?" And I found the emergency shelter, and soon my life on the streets started. And before long, I spent 10 years on the streets, going from shelter to shelter, jail to jail. I've overdosed 3 times. My life was very hard, man. But it was hard because I made it hard. But it was still hard. Like whether something's hard because you made it hard or whether it doesn't matter, you still have to go through it. And it was very rough. But something happened in 1999. I decided that I was going to go for treatment. And went to Miracle Valley in Mission, BC, residential treatment. 3 months I stayed in the treatment, and what they did is they offered a supportive care so that you can go stay basically in a bachelor pad, live there, go and try and slowly integrate yourself back into the world. So that's what I did. So after the 6 months there, I didn't know where else to go. Went back to Vancouver, and I was just struggling all the time. Every day I'd walk by these people trying to sell me drugs, and it was like some days I was okay, some days I wasn't. And social services offered this course for $100 extra a month for your support check, which you only got 200. So if that was like almost like 50% extra, you go to classes Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and get your GED and upgrading. I said, I'm in. I want the $100. So anyway, I went in, and over a little bit of time, I started learning about computers, and I'm like, oh, what's this MSN stuff? MSN chat room, Canadians friendship, and all this stuff, and I'm like meeting people and talking to people that aren't in Vancouver, and and I met this person, this chatty pup, and I was like, told me she was from Prince Edward Island. I was like, well, this person I'll never meet in my life. Why don't I just be honest and just tell her everything I'm going through, and that way it might help. Who knows, right? So I did. I told her absolutely everything. The struggles of trying to walk to the school and not buy drugs. The atmosphere. It's just so interesting. It's just I didn't know what to do. I didn't think I'd ever be successful living there. So she says, "Well, why don't you come out here?" And I was like, "Oh, really? Like seriously?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm serious. Like if you're willing to come out here and try it, I'm willing to help you." And I was like, wow, that's like pretty huge offer, and I didn't know what to think of it at first, and I was having a lot of trouble, and I decided, well, you know what? Sometimes you just gotta, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Had a few things, I sold them at about $1,200, and I bought plus a plane ticket one way to Charlottetown, Prince Edward, or Halifax, sorry, that's where it was, Halifax. And anyway, I remember getting in the plane that day, and I remember thinking, what if she's not there? What if she doesn't show up? But needless to say, she was there, and that was in 2000. We spent Halifax. We spent the day in Halifax. The next day, we went back to Montague, and the very next day, she brought me up to Howe Point Road to meet Roy, and Belle, and Trina. And that's where I quickly learned what great people these people were. And yeah, it was pretty amazing. I seen the view from up here. You see me take the pictures all the time, and it's like this. I don't know. It's almost like two lives. It's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. But one thing I know is that it wasn't easy. I went back to BC to visit my family. I relapsed. I ended up having some struggles, but in 2001, it was over, like I just had to say, like, I have to pick. It's either all or nothing. And that's just like what we all have to pick. We have to pick, are we ready to give it our all? Not 50%, not 10%, 100%. Recovery means everything. If without it, you'll have nothing. Character means everything. I can't look at myself in the mirror and think I didn't stick up for somebody who did all this for me and not use. I will be driven back to using because I'll feel so much shame. This is how I operate. This is how I am. I have to be open. I have to be like an open book. If I'm not, then I start hiding things. And then they build up into resentments and pain. And then next thing you know, I get in all these urges to use. And no. And one thing in recovery, the steps are so important. I think the steps are more important than anybody ever realizes. Not just in a meeting, but in look at the steps on your own when you're by yourself and read them and understand them. What it does, it makes you reflect and look at yourself. And so many of us just use just because we don't feel good about ourselves. But if we forgive ourselves, if we make amends where we can, if we believe that there is something stronger than us, these are all the things that are so integral that when we're weak, we give it up to them, and we can make it. Listen, life is not easy. I've had struggles, but I will always fight. I want you to fight. You can do this. You deserve a life. Everybody deserves a life. It doesn't matter whether you're a drug addict on the streets of Vancouver, Toronto, San Francisco, whatever. It does not matter if you're Bill Gates. You have the same right to a good life as anybody else. Take it. The first step is getting sober. Once you get sober, things will start becoming clearer and you'll see your path open up in front of you. Guys, I love you all. Have a happy 24th.